Recording.
When I was a kid, I used to always grew up loving up there. Why? Because there's so many other possibilities that can happen. We are just 1% or even little of a percent of the vast population, vast majority of space. So what happens? We have space exploration. We had programs such as the Mercury Project, the Gemini Project, Mercury Program, Gemini Program, Apollo Program, Skylab Program, Space Shuttle Program. All of these individual things have helped us learn more about where we came from. The Mercury Program has helped us figure out if man can survive in space. Obviously, that there's men up there right now. The Gemini, okay. Shortly after the first mission of the Gemini program, John F. Kennedy has said and challenged the U.S. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. So what that means is he wants us to go to the moon by the end of the decade. So that's where the Gemini program has come in. The Gemini program was made to pretty much train to go fly to the moon because it's a long journey to go to the moon, about 5 days. And we got to figure out how to get there. With that program, there's now the Apollo program, which, as you all know, mostly, that it allowed Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to be the first humans to walk on the moon. And if you ask me, it's still one of the greatest accomplishments that man has ever made to date. Because let's be honest, putting a man on the moon, think of all the other possibilities that we could do with that. Shortly after the Apollo program, there was budget issues because a lot of money was being used to pretty much take these men into space. That's where the Skylab program came in, the first space station. It was the first ever space station. They used scraps from the previous Apollo missions and put the station inside there. But the program only lasted for a good year. Then came the shuttle program, which is still to date one of the greatest projects that NASA has ever built, but also it became one of the most dangerous vehicles known to man, also the most complex. The reason why I say that is because it is allowed to kill 14 humans or astronauts during a disaster. Challenger, Columbia, all that. But the shuttle program has allowed us to do many, many things, such as bring up many satellites up there, bring up many telescopes, such as the Hubble Space Telescope, and also the International Space Station. Now with the program gone, we have to ask ourselves, what has happened recently? Well, America has been paying Russia so that they can basically fly their U.S. astronauts into space so that they can still basically get the ratings that they once used to have. Scott Kelly, he also happened to be an American who was flown into space by Russia, and he stayed up there in space for a solid year. The reason why, so that during long-term missions, we can study the body on long-term missions so that we can see what happens when we go to places like Mars. Then recently, last year, Donald Trump has just signed a bill which allows NASA to have a $19.5 billion more cap space for them to be able to do more projects such as go to Mars. And then quietly, SpaceX has been coming up. And Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, has done some significant projects such as the Falcon Heavy, which actually just happened recently. It became the most powerful rocket to launch into space since the Apollo program, and that's been a long time. And has also been able to reuse their boosters. people were really expecting this thing to blow up because of how heavy this thing is. It's really heavy, but thanks to the great minds of many employees, they were able to land 2 boosters straight on ground. If you ask me, that's really impressive. For something like that to happen, who knows what other possibilities we can make. So what's next? This is what's next. Sending a man or woman to Mars. Obviously, it's going to take some time, but I feel like that we are in a good position to allow a man to walk on the surface of Mars. And with that, go even more into deep space, such as go to planets such as Jupiter or Saturn or whatever types of other planets that we can use to look at the vast majority of space that we have. And that's the future of space exploration.